Hello everybody. We are very lucky today because we have one of Germany's preeminent authors for children, Meyer, and we also have Anthea Bell. I'm Clive Barnes, I'm the chair of Ibby UK and I'm your chairman for this session. I'll say a little bit about each of our guests and we will then have a conversation about Kai's work and Anthea's translation, and that may develop into a conversation about translation more generally. We'll see how it goes. As I have said, Kai is one of the preeminent German authors for children. He's written an awful lot. He's written for adults as well as children. Some of his work has been translated into English, but not enough, I think. One of the previous translations of his work, which appeared a little bit ago in the early 2000s, Flowing Queen, which I think was in the Water Mirror trilogy, is that the right way round? Yeah. Won the Marsh Award for Translation in 2007, which is our major, probably our only award for translation in the children's book world. And of course the translator for that was Anthea Bell. Kai's latest work, which Anthea has translated, and which is his latest work, which is available in English, is the Arcadia trilogy, which is an amazing work which brings together the landscape of Sicily, the mafia, and I assume it's Greek mythology. It's shape-shifting, in which young men and women change into largely predatory animals, I think. I don't think there are any pleasant animals amongst them. So if you'd like to welcome Kai, give him a clap.
Thank you.
I'll just say a few words about Anthea. Yeah, sure. Anthea Bell, of course, may be better known to you. I'm not sure, but she is, I suppose, our greatest translator of children's and adult work. She is also quite a formidable authority, certainly on German literature, and I imagine on other literature as well. Many of you may know her as the English translator of Asterisk, but she has, of course, got a great deal more to her curriculum vitae, and we are tremendously, I think, honoured to have her here today, since translation is one of our themes. So if you'd like to welcome Anthea Bell, OBE. We're going to start with Kai saying a bit about the Arcadia trilogy, which is his latest work to be translated into English.
You want me to talk about the books right away? Yeah. Okay. Yes, I wrote them probably the first one 3 or 4 years ago. In Germany, they came out one book per year and were actually on the bestseller list, which was quite nice, even on the adult bestseller list. So, and now there are plans to shoot a TV miniseries based on the books. But I'm not quite sure if this will ever happen or not. Mm-hmm. Actually, you said everything about the books.
Did I?
Which is important, and you can say in a few sentences. But they are set in Sicily. I went to Sicily to research them. I read an awful lot about the mafia to get the mafia facts right. And I read a lot about ancient Greek mythology, of course, because that became much more important from book to book. I think in the second one and in the third one, it's much more important. The whole mythology part is much more important than the first one. So, yeah.
Okay, and can you tell us, Anthea, how you came to translate the books?
Well, am I close enough to this microphone? Can you hear me?
I think so.
Yes, okay. I first came across it. We have a twice-a-year journal. It's called New Books in German, and it aims to interest publishers in just that. It's published for the London Book Fair and the Frankfurt Book Fair. And it was the Frankfurt issue of about 3 years ago, I suppose. When did you publish in Germany?
I think 3 or 4 years ago.
3 years.
Well, 4 years ago,
It
probably.
was on the brink of publication in Germany at the time, and it was offered to the journal. We had, as I was just telling Kai, an interminable report which went on for 7 closely spaced pages, telling the whole plot, and there is a lot of plot. And I recommended our editorial committee. I said, never mind the report which you found heavy going. I know Kai's work, and it's brilliant. He is a master storyteller. And that was how I first heard about this lovely new work. And now I have, the first one is out in English on both sides of the Atlantic. And the second one is coming early next year, again, both sides of the Atlantic. And I'm still working on the translation of the third and final book in the trilogy. So, kind, I must not say much about that, or even about the second book.
We shouldn't, I think.
No.
But I think the third one is probably the most difficult to translate, isn't it?
In a way, I mean, there are all those ends which you have tied up brilliantly. Kai sent me an outline of it, some time ago, when he hadn't quite finished writing.
Yeah, I was still writing the book.
And it all came perfectly clear once I had the completed volume, and I could not put it down. He's compulsive. And
thank you.
I thought, this combination, I thought at once, oh my word, the Mafia meets Ovid's Metamorphoses. And you don't often get a good original idea in fantasy, and this struck me as a very, very good original idea.
Did you find, were there any particular surprises or difficulties in translating?
Did I?
Any surprises or difficulties in translating it?
Well, it's all action, and there's a lot of conversation. I love the conversation. Can I say a word also about the hero and heroine? Mm-hmm. Because Rosa, the heroine, who is a very troubled girl, we'll gradually learn to know more about her past, but she never lets life get her down, and she decides to throw over her life in New York completely. She has very good reason to wish to do so, and go back to her father's home, her late father's home, on the island of Sicily, where she finds her aunt, the mistress of the great Alcantara estate, her sister Zoe, who went to Sicily a couple of years ago, and there she learns all sorts of things about the family past in due course. But meanwhile, there's a Romeo and Juliet theme in that on the plane over from the States she meets Alessandro Carnevale, who is the son of another mafia clan. The Alcantaras and the Carnevales do not get on well at all. And, but of course the two young people fall for each other. And there, one of the first things I noticed was the lovely spiky conversation between them early on. Almost a Beatrice and Benedict set-up. They are scoring off each other. And he tries to make use of her, and she is furious. It all works out all right in the end, but there is a lot of conversation. And because of all the family background, it is revealed gradually, largely. Alessandro tells it to Rosa, but he doesn't sit her down and say, now listen to this. It comes up in the course of the action, which is a clever trick.
I really like to write dialogue, and most of my dialogue is much too long in the first draft. I have to cut back most of the dialogue during the revisions, because my dialogue tends to go on and on and on and on for pages. And I really like to write that. And I write dialogue very fast. I need a lot more time for descriptions and for action, stuff like that. But dialogue writes itself, more or less.
Well, it often, if it's as well written in the original, it translates itself more or less. And you get to know these young people through the way they fall from each other, and there are secrets of which Rosa has no idea until we can tell you this bit because it's in the published first book. But the families on Sicily, some of them, they turn out to be descended from the ancient inhabitants of the island, and we go right back to Greek mythology and King Lycaon, who did a version of the terrible tale of the house of Atreus. He served his enemy, the enemy's child, in a pie. And since then, the dynasties on Sicily, as they're called, they have, like King Lycaon, who was turned into a wolf, they have the fate or gift of turning into some kind of animal. Mm-hmm. And the carnivores turn into animals of the panther species, panthera that is, and the alcantaras are lamia, snakes. And when Rosa for the first time has an inkling of her propensity to turn into a snake at moments of high emotion, that does surprise her, as you might expect. But it's very, very well done, and I was simply fascinated by the whole story. Rosa also, I mean, I think you said somewhere in an interview that a lot of people didn't approve of Rosa when she first appears.
Yeah, because she's actually quite a difficult character. Mm. The first thing we learn about her is that she likes to steal. Mm-hmm. She steals stuff at the airport, mm-hmm. And she's just very troubled. And a lot of readers didn't get that right away, I think. Mm-hmm. Usually in reviews, in reader reviews on Goodreads or some of those websites, people say, oh, in the beginning I didn't like Rosa, but when I learned what happened to her, I began to identify, or I began to sympathize with her. And that's actually what I intended to do. Because on the first pages she's very tough and very, not very likable, probably for a lot of people. But after a while you learn why she is that way.
You do, yes. The kleptomania is not because she wants the things, it gives her a kick.
Yeah, not at all. She doesn't need any of that stuff.
And I think we can say this without it being a spoiler. She seems to have completely stopped this, but there's a lovely moment in the second book where she steals the ring, doesn't she, from the Contessa?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's the only bit of kleptomania.
It's just because she doesn't like her.
She doesn't like
the Contessa, so she just steals something from her. Not because she wants the stupid ring.
No, because she's inherited the whole family fortune by that time anyway. But it's an act of defiance. Mm-hmm. So I don't like this woman. I will show her.
Yeah.
Following on from that description, Anthea, that's a sort of more general question. I mean, your enthusiasm for Kai's work is obvious. But do you have to be enthusiastic about every book that you translate?
Well, it's a lot better if you are. Oh, yeah. I do try not to translate anything I don't really like. But I have had my arm twisted to do things I didn't like, and I've always regretted it.
So would you refuse a book?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. And you wouldn't believe how many bad fantasies I have seen, particularly pallid imitations of the Harry Potter books. I read one in French. It had the nerve to call itself on the back, Harry Potter Froggy.
Thank you very much. Also, when we were talking earlier, you talked about a translator being a craftsperson, as opposed to a writer whom you termed an artist. Would you like to say anything more about that?
Well, that is how I feel, and colleagues of mine, we like to think there's a very good book by Edith Grossman, Yale University Press, called Why Translation Matters. And Edith puts it beautifully. You get once something is really going well in a translation, you feel you're on the song, you get a touch of that creative feeling. But basically, I do consider the writers are the people who have the ideas. We are just intermediaries. And that's why I call us craftsmen.
But writing is a craft as well. It's I think at least 50% of writing is craft.
Oh, of course, yes.
Otherwise, you would never be able to express your ideas and to put them, to bring them in a certain kind of shape that is readable. And we have that all the time. I mean, how many books has everybody read where we thought the ideas are great, but the writing is terrible. So you really need the craft as well.
Yes.
It's not all artistry.
Indeed. What Kai has is the ability to work out a very complex plot. I mean, as you go on through the trilogy, and it's not a spoiler to say it's even more complex in the third book, on which I'm happily engaged at the moment. And it boils up, again, this is not too much of a spoiler, to such a climax that when I was reading it, having had only the synopsis, when I had the full book, I thought, my word, how on earth is Kai going to get Rosa and Alessandro out of this when they look absolutely doomed? But he does it.
Did you want to say something, Kai, about your working methods and how you work a book out?
I work from a detailed outline. The first thing I do is an outline of probably 40 to 50 pages per book, which takes me 2 or 3 months usually, and I just go on from there. It's just I just prefer to, when I sit down in the morning to write the actual book, to already know what is going to happen. I don't have to think about the plot structure. I don't have to think about tying up loose ends and stuff like that. I just have to think about the writing, to get the descriptions right, the dialogue, the characters, but not the plot, because I already have planned that in advance. Yeah. But I know a lot of authors, actually most authors probably don't work that way. There are several. I know several authors who do outlines, but they usually have 5-page outlines or 10-page outlines. But mine are very, very detailed. Yeah. And also because I don't like to rewrite. I'm probably just too lazy to rewrite my book if the editor would have any problems with it. So every problem there could be with the story, we will sort out in the outline stage.
Right.
And so it's much easier, I think.
Yeah. Thanks. Anthea, can I ask you another question? How do you see the responsibility of the translator towards the original work? Oh,
it is always, and most of my colleagues, those whom I respect, say the same thing. It is to find the right voice for the right author. I found a very interesting thing, actually, in translating from German, where there are a great many writers who write in German and it was not their mother tongues. In the German-speaking countries, there's even a whole prize every year for a writer who's writing in German that was not his or her mother tongue.
Really?
Yes, it's the Camisette Prize in Switzerland. And I've translated a couple of books by a Turkish-born author. He wrote so much in the Western tradition. I was sure that he must be second-generation Turkish, but no, he came to Germany from Turkey aged 10 without a word of German. There was Sasha Stanisic from Bosnia originally, came to Germany aged 13 at the time of the Bosnian Wars. And according to his own account, taught himself German from the dictionary at the rate of 10 pages a day. Got shortlisted for the big German Book Prize when he was only 28. And Rafik Shami, Syrian-born, who right now is busy being the voice of Syrian culture in Germany. It wasn't quite so noticeable in him because he's been there longer, but with the others, they have larger vocabularies than most native-born German writers. I would love, in this computer age, to know if anybody can run a computer over, say, the works of Joseph Conrad or Samuel Beckett, and if the same thing applies throughout. You don't notice in just reading their books, but you do when you get down to the close work of translating.
I think that's an illustration of the kind of depth to which Anthea goes when she's translating. Just, I mean, not consciously probably, but I mean just unconsciously, really. Very impressive.
Well, every author is different. Kai is quite different from other fantasy authors I've translated. Yes. And this one, it's very much young adult. It's a hiking age from the Flowing Queen trilogy and the Wave Runners trilogy, the Pirates. And I really, really like the young adult mode. I think it's probably doing a great deal for adolescent reading. And in the Arcadian trilogy, it gains so much by having a really strong hero and heroine. I have to confess I have never read one of those vampire books by Kai's namesake, actually, Stephanie Meyer in the States. I don't know if she pronounces it that way. But I thought I'd better dip into one at some point. And both the characters were so two-dimensional. Now, I can believe in Rosa and Alessandro. They're strong characters. They've got a strong storyline. And they have a real love interest, and it is that so often. I think in fantasies, especially the ones for teenage girls, the necessary boyfriend is a total wimp and uninteresting, except as a plot device. But there's a lot of tension between Rosa and Alessandro later on, isn't there?
Yeah, and he gets darker from book to book, I think he is, because he inherits the title of capo of his family, which is the leader of the mafia clan, and he takes that very seriously. Actually, I don't really. I have tried not to go into too much detail what he has to do to secure his place in the clan, but there are some hints that he actually has to kill people or have others kill people to make sure that nobody takes his place. He gets darker from the second to the third book, I think, especially.
Yes, I think he does. And all the same, you can't help liking him.
Yeah, that's obviously what I intended to do. I knew they would be criminals. I mean, they are. But you should sympathize with them.
Yes, and it's easier for Rosa to give it up. Although, fortunately, by the time she really walks out of being a practicing member of the mafia, some of her fortune has managed to be salvaged. We won't go into the details of that either. It's in the third book.
We haven't got too much longer in our session because we do want to give Kai and Anthea a break before they do their next session. But we do have about 5 minutes for people to ask questions.
Yeah, my question is to Anthea, and I want to ask you if you could share your method of working on your translations with us.
In general, or on this book in particular?
In general, well, I know we don't have time for the particular, so in general.
No, in general, as I say, it's always the same, to try to get the register, the tone of voice right for that author. And then what I really like best to do is to do a complete, quick first draft. Because very often, if there is a problem that arises in translation, and most authors are very kind about answering questions, the Germans are much better at this than the French. The French believe everybody should write I'm generalizing wildly, but they think you should imitate a French style very closely. And the well-educated Germans know that this isn't always going to work. But questions, problems, early on often answer themselves from something that happens later. I'm speaking of fiction, of course. And then I go back and revise.
How long does it take to get the voice of an author? I mean, do you know after 10 pages?
Yes, you should know after 10 pages, yes. And you will revise, of course, but, so, I mean, your voice is the same, but as in the earlier fantasy trilogies, but the register and the age register and the tone of voice have changed that little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Questions? Oh, we also have a question over there later.
I wondered about how you translate the vernacular, the slang that might not have an equivalent in English. I mean, some people use a very heightened translation that doesn't sound like the common voice, but there are words that don't translate.
Oh, this is a constant headache. My friend Michael Henry Heim of UCLA and I agree that it's the most intractable problem, and Kai has spared me anything like that. We haven't got a particular demotic. Michael and I, if it's an uneducated speaker in a novel, we can do it with what we call non-specific demotic, i.e. you just say he done it, the books was good, that sort of thing. You can't do that if it's an educated speaker speaking a local dialect, and this happens a lot in Germany, in Austria, in Switzerland. And sometimes it is so intractable, I've said to a publisher, I don't think this is possibly going to work. A good little book, though it was in this case. It does not do to swap, say, I tried once because the author of a book, he said that when My Fair Lady was on the stage in Berlin, they used the Berlin dialect for Liza Doolittle's Cockney. So I said to the author, well, okay, we'll try it in this book. He had one character with a strong Berlin accent, though she could speak Hochdeutsch, High German too. And when I'd done it, we all looked at it and we said, author included, no, it doesn't work. So we cut it.
Right, and we have a question over there. Yeah.
Thank you. First, I wanted to thank Anthea Bell for her translations. Every time, I'm an English language reader, and every time I open a book and your name is there as a translator, I know I'm going to be in for a treat. So thank you very, very much. And many, many books. I'm just curious, do you know how many books over the years you've translated? And how many books in a year do you translate?
Is that a question?
Yeah. How many books have you translated?
Oh, dear. Well, that is very difficult to estimate.
Or how many books in a year?
I think it's probably about 7 or 8 in a year, but they will be of different lengths. And because I've translated a lot, if I were to count in every little children's book I translated early on, sometimes I look at them on my shelf and I think, I don't remember translating that. I must have done, it's got my name on it, but I remember all the good ones.
Any other questions?
My question would be, if you could give a kind of general advice to somebody who would like to start translating, what you understand under the expression that you used, that you first do a complete first drive. What does this mean for you?
What, the first draft? What does it mean? Yes, well, it gives me a good idea of the lines I will take, and I will polish up later.
One more question, perhaps.
I also wanted to thank you for your brilliant translations so that these books can be read in English. Thank you very much. My question is, what do you, as a translator, find are your greatest challenges? What's the most challenging part of trying to translate a children's novel?
Again, it will differ. Some will have problems. I find Kai so pleasant to translate. I don't think he's given anyone many problems. And if an English language editor finds something and we decide we ought to turn to the author, I don't think this has happened much, has it, Kai? You make yourself so extremely clear.
I hope so.
Right, thank you very much indeed. I'm sure you'd like to thank Kai and Anthea. I'd like to give them.